I want to say to Trump U.S. Attorney Lindsey Halligan, hats off to you for bringing this indictment, because there are a lot of people who are saying the evidence was not there. And after we read this indictment, it is very clear that Big Tish committed mortgage fraud when she lied about whether she lied about living in this Virginia home. She has to live in a New York home under New York statute because she's the attorney general. So, Big Tish, you better lawyer up, because it looks like you're going to the big house.
You know, yeah, baby. If Mike Davis were a cigarette, he'd have no filter. I'm telling you, he is unbelievable. Mike Davis, Article 3 Project, one of my heroes, joins us on the Newsmax hotline. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, dude, I got to tell you, there's so much stuff going on right now. You were unfiltered with Rob Finnerty last night on Newsmax, and you have been unabashed about what you think is possible with regard to Big Tish, and as you like to call her, and mortgage fraud. What do you know, and what do you think, man?
Lindsey Halligan is the Trump U.S. Attorney, as I said in that prior hit. She's an all-star. She is firing on all cylinders already. She's already brought the indictments against two lawfare Democrats, James Comey, for lying to Congress and obstructing a congressional investigation, and then Big Tish James for committing bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution, allegedly, on both of those. But this is much-needed accountability. And I want to say this. Why did the people in the Eastern District of Virginia think that there was not evidence to indict Big Tish when the evidence is overwhelming?
Yeah.
That Big Tish lied about having a second home. It was not her second home. She never intended it to be her second home. She apparently bought this home as an investment property and then rented it to her degenerate great niece who was running from the law. So that's what the evidence shows. And when she did this, she got a more favorable interest rate, more favorable loan rate, more favorable insurance. And that makes, when you do that, you undermine the financial system for everyone, because that means that everyone else who gets a mortgage the right way has to assume the risk of the people who are getting the mortgage the fraudulent way, because investment properties have higher rates of defaults than a primary or secondary residence.
Yes, and she saved a lot of money. I think Rob Schmidt said like 8% or something interest rate when you compound that annually. My God in heaven, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah, it's like 0.8%, but it's still a significant amount of money. And remember this is the same Big Tish James who said that nobody's above the law and even small lies need to be prosecuted because they lead to bigger lies. And she's the one who went after President Trump and said that Trump overvalued Mar-a-Lago to get a more favorable loan. And she said that Trump overvalued Mar-a-Lago, which is worth close to $1 billion, if not more. And Trump said that he lied to sophisticated Wall Street banks who he paid back in full on time as agreed with interest, because she said Mar-a-Lago was worth only $18 million.
Yes.
So that's just asinine. Just go to Redfin or go to Zillow and see that this is 20 acres of the most premier real estate in the world in Palm Beach. Is the only property, Mar-a-Lago is the only property that touches both the Atlantic Ocean and the Intracoastal Waterway. A tennis court at Mar-a-Lago is worth more than $18 million. Yet Tish James teamed up with this Democrat activist Judge Arthur Engeron and tried to bankrupt Trump for mortgage fraud. So, look, I think people say, oh, retribution. First of all, the facts are there. This was a grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia, which is full of government workers and other Democrats. And so they found there was enough evidence to charge her. But separate from that, I think retribution is a crucial component of justice, retributive justice. We've had it for 4,000 years, 5,000 years, right?
Yes.
And the whole point is it makes the victims whole and it deters future criminal misconduct. So, Big Tish, lawyer up, sweetheart. We were going to have to increase the prison budget to feed her. So it's not cruel and unusual punishment, but we need to put Big Tish's big ass in prison.
You know, Mike, the thing is, you talked about the weaponization. Do you remember when the DOJ was obviously being weaponized against Donald Trump with 91 counts after he announced his presidency, with 34, felony convictions, with all of the massive corruption of the judges and their ties to the Democrat Party, and I can go on and on. Now we know Jack Smith's absolute corruption as well. While all of this is happening in real time, you began to hear that the media say, Donald Trump gets in office, there will be retribution, because they knew. Mike, they knew what the Justice Department was doing against Donald Trump, against traditional Catholics, against CRT parents, against all of these groups like Charlie Kirk's organization, TPUSA, going after them, surveilling them, all of this. The media knew this in real time, and that's why they started saying, Donald Trump might do retribution. And when that happened, Donald Trump stopped saying retribution during his campaign. Did you notice that?
Well, I'll say this. You just have to ask retribution for what? Well, what did the other side do wrong? If there's retribution, they're admitting what they did was wrong because they're talking about retribution for it. Again, I believe in retribution, as we just discussed.
So do I.
President Trump and his allies very publicly campaigned on the fact that we're going to bring much-needed accountability for this republic-ending, unprecedented lawfare against President Trump. His top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who went to prison for constitutional executive privilege going back 250 years to George Washington. They're trying to disbar Jeff Clark right now in the D.C. courts. They went after and persecuted Trump's January 6th supporters. The Supreme Court overturned that decision, but several years later, after their lives were ruined, in the Fisher decision, as you said, they went after parents outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rape in high school bathrooms. They went after Christians praying at abortion clinics while they gave amnesty. The Biden Justice Department gave amnesty to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, the scumbag Biden crime family, BLM, Antifa, Hamas, Planned Parenthood, George Soros. Justice was promised before this last election. President Trump got an overwhelming electoral mandate, 312 electoral votes, all 7 swing states, the popular vote. He kept the House. He won a comfortable margin in the Senate. And guess what? President Trump is going to deliver on his campaign promise of justice and accountability.
You're also talking about a massive conspiracy here, Mike. I mean, you've got Donald Trump going after people for obviously illegality in their personal lives, like Adam Schiff, mortgage fraud, Tish James, mortgage fraud, but also the use of the federal government to go after Americans. There's criminality there. I mean, this is gigantic, Mike. And this is just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And so my good friend, Jason Redding Quinones, is the new U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of Florida. I'm down in Miami right now. I had some good meetings with him.
Great.
Justice is definitely coming for Crossfire Hurricane, the biggest criminal conspiracy, the biggest political scandal in American history, when these lawfare Democrats, including Obama, Biden, Hillary, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, so many of these Democrats, Andrew Weissman, these prosecutors, Jay Bratt, Jack Smith, Tish James, Fannie Willis, Nathan Wade, the Chris Mays out in Arizona. They ran unprecedented republic-ending lawfare. They tried to take out President Trump in 2016. They politicized and weaponized intel agencies to go after President Trump in 2016. They made up the Crossfire Hurricane hoax, the Russian collusion hoax, because they were trying to destroy Trump, help Hillary, and to cover up her foreign corruption. Right, when she was the Secretary of State, she was taking tens of millions of dollars into the Clinton Foundation, and what was she doing in return? We don't know, because she destroyed the evidence. She destroyed the server. So they made up Russian collusion, and they've tried to destroy Trump for the last 8 years, and guess what? Justice is coming.
Mike, I know you're busy. I know you're in Florida. Can you hold through the break? Is that possible?
Sure.
I hate to inconvenience you, but I really want to finish up the conversation. Let's take a break and come back quickly. Mike Davis, Article 3 Project on the Rob Carson Show. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, those indictments we just saw for Comey and Tish James are the appetizer indictments. And the big one, the main course, is going to be the conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. I've publicly called for this for the last 3+ years since the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans, and finally, the feces is hitting the fan. Mike Davis, Article 3 Project, joins us on the Newsmax hotline. Mike, as soon as Lindsey Halligan was announced, they started to go after her. And I think that's backfired pretty quickly as we begin to see how ultimately qualified she is for this task.
She is bold and fearless. She's a warrior for the Constitution. She had to defend President Trump against this lawfare, the politicized and weaponized intelligence and law enforcement brought to us by Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and their minions. Justice is definitely coming. There's definitely going to be accountability. You may have seen this. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Jason Redding Quinones,
yes,
my good friend, who I pushed President Trump to pick for that job, is a bold and fearless warrior. His family is a bunch of Cuban refugees who deplore politicized and weaponized government because they escaped it in communist Cuba. And Jason Redding Quinones is a good friend of mine, and you saw that he just motioned the courts to open up a special grand jury in Fort Pierce, Florida. That grand jury should be fully impaneled by January, and I imagine that Crossfire Hurricane will get moving out of Fort Pierce grand jury, because remember what these Democrats did. This is the biggest scandal in American history. They politicized and weaponized law enforcement and political and intelligence agencies to take out political enemies. This is what you see in the third world.
Yes.
This is what Marxist regimes do in the third world. We cannot allow this to happen in America. There must be the most severe, and I mean the most severe, legal, political, and financial consequences for this, so this never happens again.
Now, we've got, we've had the Democrats say no one is above the law, no one is above the law, no one is above the law. Mike, is no one above the law? This includes Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Well, I would say nobody's above the law. Barack Obama, as we just saw with President Trump, will be able to make a presidential immunity argument for his official acts while he's in office. But anything that he did after he left office, for example, by continuing to participate in a criminal conspiracy under, for example, USC Section 241, you don't have presidential immunity for that. So I would say to Barry Obama, lawyer up, buddy.
Yeah.
Nobody's above the law. And
well, there's a reason why he kept a house in D.C., Mike. There's a reason why he kept a house in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
They had their puppet president in Joe Biden, who had to drool all over the place and could function for about 2 hours a day between diaper changings. But no, justice is definitely coming, and that includes Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, every person who participated in this conspiracy against President Trump, his top aides and his supporters. They better lawyer up. Yeah, and you had Jack Smith going after Donald Trump for classified documents. We find out that John Bolton had a bunch of those, and it sounds like things are really going to hit the fan pretty quickly for him. What do you know about the case against Bolton?
Well, President Trump was allowed to have his presidential records in the office of former president, which is allowed by the Presidential Records Act, and it doesn't matter whether they're classified or not. The president can access his presidential records anytime he wants. Contrast that with John Bolton, who did not have the Presidential Records Act. So that's clearly it's clearly espionage.
That's espionage, yes.
Records. When you have classified records you're not supposed to have, that's clearly espionage. So it looks like Bolton's going to have some legal problems.
Yeah. Also, Adam Schiff is in a lot of trouble with some similarities between his case and Fonnie Willis and Letitia James's case.
Yeah, I mean, what's the deal with these Democrats? They like to commit mortgage fraud. I mean,
it's double standards, man.
We didn't commit mortgage fraud. That's a lie. That's a conspiracy. And then there's no evidence we committed mortgage fraud. And then when the evidence piles in, like Lindsey just did to Big Tish, then they say, well, everyone commits mortgage fraud, and this is racist. I don't know what Adam Schiff's going to say. He can't use the race card, so maybe he'll transgender himself into a woman and say he's a victim.
What do you think? I'm going to ask you this. You got the big No Kings protest this weekend. Donald Trump's going to use RICO statutes to go after the massive web of money for these leftist radical groups. Do you suppose that that's going to come raining down on people like George Soros and the affiliated billionaires and NGOs that are behind these protests?
I hope so, because it's amazing. All these protesters show up, and they're paid protesters, and they get put up in hotels and pay for their flights and food, and then they show up with these expensive gas masks and expensive body shields. It's amazing. Who's paying for this? It's like, during the BLM riots, who paid for the pallets of bricks that would just show up? George Soros is one of the most sinister people in American history. He is subversive. Yep. He is one of the most destructive forces to the West. He's trying to destroy America. Yep. He's trying to destroy the West. He's a Marxist. He's a sick man. His son's a sick man. And I hope they both go to prison. I do, too. I hope that or worse, actually. Mike Davis. Mike, thanks so much for your time today. I know you're busy. Any way we can help out Article 3 Project? You can go to article3project.org, article number 3. Project.org. Follow us on social media. Donate, but only what you can afford. And the most important thing your audience can do is take action. Action, action, action. Amen, brother. God bless you. I appreciate you. Let's take a break and come back.